The Walt Disney Company has been on a tear of removing content from Disney Plus, content from Hulu. You see, folks, they're trying to get tax write-downs by removing their content and then claiming that that was in some way harmful to the company. They're not making the money they were supposed to make, despite the fact that all of it is behind a paywall anyway. A subscription, if you will. But that's not all. Diving into the list of the content that is cut tells a very important tale, one that is not being told at all. And it reveals that the Walt Disney Company, they're not happy with two women in particular. One who is still working for the company, but may not be working much longer there, and one that they sent packing. Let's dive in. And we are back, folks, for another fun conversation here on the WDW Pro channel, explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we attempt to do each and every day. Some channels out there, they just take what is said, they run with it, they repackage it. Not here. Well, sometimes, I'll grant you that. But a lot of times, we really enjoy sort of breaking the news, and that's what we're attempting to do yet again in this video. If you like content like that, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms. When you click it, it's the notification bell. Joining me to talk about this deep dive into the content that has been cut by Disney Plus and why it matters is, in fact, an investigative journalist with thatparkplace.com, Jonas J. Campbell. You are quite familiar with the audience on this channel. Welcome back yet again.
Hey, it's good to be here. Usually you ask me if I want to be a part of your videos. In this case, I have asked you if you wouldn't be if you would be amenable to doing a video that I choose for your channel.
Well, and I thought it was an excellent topic. You have been uncovering some stuff that nobody else really knows about yet. It is important to get it out there. I think it shows that Disney as a company perhaps is a little bit vindictive. That's no surprise. But, you know, this is the video that I think will lead to a number of articles over the next few days reporting on this same stuff. And that's largely because of your investigative work that you've been doing, Jonas. So let's start off with the Deadline article. That way everybody knows what we're talking about. We'll go from there into you explaining to us then what all of this means. Our article that we'll begin with is by Nelly Andreeva, again from Deadline. Disney removes dozens of series from Disney Plus and Hulu, including Big Shot, Willow, Y, and Dollface. A dozen people screamed out in terror as their favorite show, well, their third favorite shows were gone. All right, it's already been updated, by the way, with more titles being removed. We'll go ahead and read the update first. Disney is starting to pull content from streaming with dozens of series and specials slated to leave Disney Plus and Hulu on May 26th, 2 days from now, folks. Deadline has learned. The titles which are being removed from Disney's streaming services globally include Disney Plus's Willow, Big Shot, Turner and Hooch, The Mighty Ducks Game Changers Just Beyond, Diary of a Future President, The Mystery Benedict Society, The World According to Jeff Goldblum, and Hulu's Why the Last Man, Dollface, The Hot Zone, Maggie Pistol, and Little Demon. A number of freeform series are also slated to leave Hulu. And it goes on to talk about all of these. There was a kerfuffle because an important documentary that touches on The Little Mermaid, the history of The Little Mermaid, was going to be removed. It was listed as going to be removed. They have since corrected it and said that the documentary covering Howard Ashman, oh no, it's not on the list. I suspect that they realized the error of their ways and decided to fix that, but who knows? But Jonas, we've got the list down here. It's a very large list. To put this into context for the audience, the reason that they're doing this is they need to buy Hulu. Hulu is going to be very expensive. They've already said they're going to buy Hulu. They're going to put it under the same umbrella as Disney Plus. Hulu is likely to cost the company something like $10 to $12 billion. They were hoping to use some of their stock to do that. The stock price for Disney is dropping. It's down. We don't know what it will do in the future, but it's down. It even touched into the $80 range yesterday at one point. And so that's making it more difficult for them to buy Hulu. And so they're cutting this content. They're closing hotels because they're trying to get tax write-downs to free up more money. So Jonas, walk us through the list. What should we know about it?
Well, the first thing to remember here is that a lot of these are very much original Disney Plus titles from the start of the service. A lot of things here like Big Shot, The World According to Jeff Goldblum. As Disney had just completed the Fox-Disney merger at this point, and National Geographic, World According to Jeff Goldblum was the tile. That was the one they were using to advertise the National Geographic category there. This is something that appears to touch every single segment of the company. If it weren't for Willow, it wouldn't touch Lucasfilm. But a lot of these properties, they touch Marvel. There was some risk there that was put to Empower, the documentary about Victoria Alonso by Victoria Alonso.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute, Jonas.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big things that happened is that Disney cut 2 items from Disney Plus that are very significant to 2 women. We talked about this in the intro as people were coming in. Of course, we know that Kathleen Kennedy found out the Star Cruiser was closing as she was entering the screening of the Indiana Jones movie at the Cannes Film Festival, her big night. Now, that has nothing to do with this except for then as she was leaving the screening, leaving the theater, going to the big party, that's when the announcement was made that Willow was being cut. And, of course, Kathleen announced Willow on stage. Willow was supposed to be this big thing, bringing back sort of a multi-franchise studio. That clearly is not happening, especially with Indy being eviscerated so far. But it's not just Kathleen Kennedy. The Walt Disney Company, they sent Victoria Alonso out the door, claimed that she was doing things in breach of her contract. I think we've had a settlement out of the company,
yes,
right?
Yes, we have. Yes.
But even post-settlement, there's some interesting things here because, for those of you who don't know, Victoria Alonso was a major executive at Marvel. She was over the CGI, the animation, etc. Very outspoken, and she had come up with the mantle strategy, this idea that you can take the superpowers of one hero, transport them to another character that's more modern in their demographic. That usually means they're quote-unquote diverse, and thereby the audience doesn't care. They just want to see those superpowers. They don't care about the characters themselves. That did not seem to pay off, and so they kicked her to the curb, perhaps as a scapegoat for Kevin Feige, who knows. But now they're going after her because they cut her documentary that was, as you said, by her, for her, about her. So
yes.
What do you think, Jonas? Is this targeting Kathleen Kennedy and Miss Alonso?
What's interesting about it is that it can be read as targeting these women, or it can be read as taking a write down on content that did not perform well. And for the budget, between the 2 of them, Empower was the easier one. That was electronic press kit kind of stuff where they would just send it out to do fluff on a piece. One on Captain Marvel, another one on Black Widow, focusing on different women in the Marvel universe. The only one that's really good, by the way, is the episode. I did watch it because I wanted to know what was in it. And there maybe one day there'll be an Everything Woke About. But the episode that was on Gamora specifically had James Gunn and Chris Pratt. That one was actually good. The rest of it is just the usual stuff where Disney's just praising themselves, especially when you have an executive funding something to praise themselves. It all comes out very bland, very safe, very boring. And it would be something to put you to sleep to if it wasn't so enraging how boring it was.
Well, it's funny that you say that Gamora was the good one because Gamora, it seems to be one of the most well-rounded female characters in Marvel. James Gunn took special care to treat that character as if she's a whole person and not just sort of an avatar for her gender or biological sex. Same for Nebula, same for Mantis. And yet many of these other female Marvel characters are nothing more than hand-me-downs of their male counterparts, from whom they often take their personas. You know, Thor gets Lady Thor or She Thor or Girl Thor, and Hulk gets Lady Hulk or She Hulk or whatever the case might be. Biceps and twerking seems to be all that they're really good for. So
that's an interesting way to phrase that, Pro.
Hey, I'm sorry, but they don't give us much to work with on these characters, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, they start from a reactionary standpoint to say that, for instance, She-Hulk is a reaction to Hulk, whereas you could have a great character here and follow the history of the comic books and do something that, guess what? That source material was popular for a reason. And to completely ignore it, do it at your own peril. Or you could be Victoria Alonso and go in and say, you know what? I'm going to fix this for you. I'm going to take your characters and I'm going to make them exactly what I want them to be. And you will eat what we like and be thankful for it.
Absolutely. Now, Disney seems to be unhappy with Victoria Alonso. It seems personal. And let's go into this now. This, I think, is something nobody has covered. This, I think, is breaking news. So for all of you out there trying to find out what it is you're supposed to be covering, here's your unique angle to take. Victoria Alonso, this is an article out of Variety, June 16th, 2022, almost a year ago. It says, top Marvel Studios exec Victoria Alonso to publish memoir, Possibility is Your Superpower. So another attempt at her to build her legacy. It says Victoria Alonso is getting ready to share her story. The Marvel Studio executive is going to publish her first book, Possibility is Your Superpower, a memoir about her Hollywood career after growing up in La Plata, Argentina. Note that she grew up in a government that was quite oppressive, not the kind of government that, people in the West would probably respect very much, and her mother was part of the Ministry of Education in that government. So maybe trying to fix a few things. But anyway, I'll read the second paragraph. There's not much need to, but let's just do it so we don't skip anything and make people say, oh, you skipped it. You don't need a cape. You don't need a hammer. You don't need a shield. Your superpower is your voice. Oh, and your voice will create change for yourself, for society, and for those who you love, Alonso says. If you use your voice, you will create the kind of energy that will bring change to us. To not use your voice is silence, and silence is poison. Here's the key thing, folks. The book, out on May 2nd, 2023, will be available in English and Spanish. I know. Where is this book? Hang on. Proceeds will benefit St. Jude. You know what? That's actually one nice thing. Give her credit where credit is due. Anybody who wants to donate and give to St. Jude, which is the hospital for children with cancer, fantastic. Alonso was represented by Johanna B. Castillo at Writer's House. Possibility is Your Superpower. Here it is, folks. Here's why it's personal. Was acquired by Adam Wilson at Disney's Hyperion Avenue imprint. Disney picked up the rights to this thing. And Jonas, where is it? Where is it? Oh, wait a minute. It has been delayed significantly. Target, we can't even find this, by the way, online. We don't know that it's still coming out. Target has now put the release date all the way at September 3rd, 2024. More than a year from now. It was already supposed to be out. I don't think that's a legitimate date, by the way. I think what's actually happening here is that the book has been indefinitely delayed and Target just had to stick some kind of date on the end of it. But if you look here, who's still the publisher? Hyperion Avenue. It's still Disney. And Disney has Victoria Alonso, her autobiography, her memoirs, held hostage. Jonas, congratulations on grabbing this. It's a heck of a find. I love to find these things that nobody else is covering.
Well, I think we can all accept that a published date on a book that should have been out a month ago has now been pushed back to September of next year. Well, that spells problems. Also, this is a book that is supposedly having SKUs in 2 different languages at the same time in Victoria Alonso's native Espanol. There was some kind of settlement here, and I wonder if Victoria Alonso didn't negotiate around the idea of getting her memoir. This is something that she supposedly would have put work into doing, or maybe she had some person that just did it for her and she submitted with interviews over several years. Would this have been important enough to her that she would have entered into negotiations to settle and say, I get the rights to my book? Or would she have just left with the cash? Or did she write it in a way that made it look like she was going to be at the Walt Disney Company forever?
All of those are interesting questions. It's also interesting that, as far as we know, Disney still holds the rights to it. That's what's on the Target website. That's all we can find. And this is a book that surely is finished. Surely, or at least it was finished. Maybe they're going to adjust it now. Who knows? But seems to be done. Disney holding her memoirs, it seems, and cutting her content on Disney Plus, which was supposed to make her be seen in such a great light. All right, let's go ahead and read a little bit more from the Variety article, or excuse me, the Deadline article about why they're doing some of this stuff. Of course, they're not going to admit that they're targeting Kathleen Kennedy and Victoria Alonso, but here's what it says. This from the chief financial officer of the Walt Disney Company, the real life Ursula. She's bad to the bone, ladies and gentlemen. If you follow this channel, you know why Christine McCarthy is one mean girl. We are in the process of reviewing the content on our DTC services to align with strategic changes in our approach to content curation, she said. At the time, no details were provided on the content that would be removed. Now, we've got some of that. And by the way, here's another thing, Jonas. I've got a source. I don't know if this is true or not. We discussed this before the video. I said, I don't even know if I want to bring this forward yet because it's so hard to corroborate. But let's just put this out there. Let's just put it out there. It is totally rumor. But what I'm hearing is this may not be the only time that Disney cuts content. There may be more on the way. And I say that to preface, I hope, an interesting conversation between you and myself about why this is happening. Now, we alluded to it. We described it at the beginning of this video, talking about Disney needs money. You and Mike, also known as Mexican Iron Man, as well as Valiant Renegade, have been discussing this. We discussed it on the live show. We've discussed it on Renegade Online. We've discussed it here on this channel. But people probably still are trying to wrap their heads around this. Can you describe to us the financial situation in terms of cash on hand that the Walt Disney Company currently has, which is very different than in the past?
Yes. So let's start with the past. This time in 2020, at this quarter in 2020, the Walt Disney Company had $22 billion in cash.
Say it again, Jonas.
At this quarter in 2020, the Walt Disney Company had $22 billion in cash on hand.
It's just, this will blow people's minds. And by the way, yesterday, when we covered the Kathleen Kennedy thing, there were so many comments, and I understand them, but so many comments saying, she'll never leave. Why are you doing this? We've heard this rumor for 10, however many years. And I understand that. But Jonas, tell us now how much money Disney has on hand. And I think this is going to show people why they can't afford to have Victoria Alonso's and Kathleen Kennedy's pulling them down any longer. Go ahead.
They have $10.4 billion in cash on hand, and they've got a significant amount of debt there. According to Mike's calculations, Mexican Iron Man, they have 3 to 6 weeks of operating cash. That's enough to run the company itself for 3 to 6 weeks. All of these write-downs are intended to lower their tax bill. We talked about it in the Star Cruiser video that all of these billion-dollar write-downs, these multi-billion-dollar write-downs, are going to save them about $672 million when they are needing $10 to $12 billion to buy Comcast.
But every little bit, they need every single bit. And that's why when we're hearing that they are not going to go forward with an Imagineering project in Florida, and they spin it, right? They try to pretend that it's because of the business atmosphere down there, that they're being targeted by DeSantis, et cetera. Superficially, maybe that has some, impact on their calculus. But the reality is it has everything to do, in my estimation, with the fact that if they spend $1 billion on putting an Imagineering campus in Florida, that's $1 billion they don't have for buying Hulu. And they need every single dollar now. This is not a rich company any longer.
I'd like to add to that, of course, Josh D'Amaro spoke at the JP Morgan Telecom conference. There are more words in there, but everyone knows which conference I'm talking about if you look it up. And he clearly stated that the political comments that have been made by the governor of Florida have not affected the business case for Walt Disney World and have not affected park numbers at Walt Disney World. So there's no lowering of the demand in Florida because of this.
Except that we did a video yesterday that shows that demand for the Walt Disney World Resort has dropped down to 2021 levels. And
Yes.
this is a big deal because the parks division has been that which has held up this company through all of the chaos of the pandemic era, through the chaos of Marvel ceasing to be the golden goose, through the chaos of the rise of Disney Plus and then the collapse, change in leadership at the CEO level. The parks have been that which has been steady. They have kept the revenues flowing. Now, we've been waiting to see how long can this go? How long can the parks hold through these bad decisions? Well, we're starting to get some indication that there is serious weakness, and that's even now being forecast by the company from the earnings report they've done, and then since they're suggesting that the next 2 quarters at least are going to be very squishy for the parks. Jonas, what do you make of it?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Again, that same conference, Josh D'Amaro signaled twice very strongly that park attendance and park revenues will go down. They say that's because last year was the 50th celebration, that everyone loved the 50th celebration. That's a bunch of smokescreen right there.
Absolutely.
The 50th celebration did not go that well. The parks have been the only steady thing outside of the COOF situation. The parks have been the only steady thing. It used to be that the media network side of Disney was a profitable portion that made even more money than the parks.
So, Jonas,
that has been destroyed by the Disney Plus updates and the fact that ESPN is now showing signs of weakness because it needs to go over to streaming. And the cost of moving ESPN to ESPN Plus truly is going to be is putting Disney on a footing that they haven't been on for a long time. They currently don't have any advantages, and they have to come up with some. They don't have the content that they need to say, we are Disney, we're the House of Mouse, you want to work with us. They're in a state that they have not been in for decades.
And the media isn't reporting it. And we're not here doing conspiracy. We're not here making a bunch of nonsense up. We're not here, talking about stuff that's just crazy. We're literally bringing the numbers from the earnings report. We're literally going through the list of the content that's being cut. We're showing you the vindictive nature of this company in regards to Victoria Alonso, Kathleen Kennedy, etc. It's right here. And I hope people are enjoying these types of conversations, these types of exposés, where we attempt to bring this information out and originate the stories, the truthful stories about the Walt Disney Company. Jonas, as we go forward, and I want to wrap this conversation up today, we've got a lot of news to cover coming up this entire week. It's just crazy how much we have to cover. Given that the box office is not looking good for Disney for the entire summer, and we'll see how things go with The Little Mermaid, but not looking good. Do you make of this that perhaps the company is signaling that they can no longer carry the types of persons such as Kathleen Kennedy and Victoria Alonso, who are essentially creative and financial leeches? They are there not to produce. They are there to signal. They are there to pollute the content with divisiveness and ideology? Or do you think that this company is so inundated with the Reimagine Tomorrow program, with the ideological, strongly held beliefs that maybe they're mad at these two individuals, but it's still the same company? What do you think?
I think they're mad at these two individuals, but maybe someone like Iger needs to look inward and try to find the skills that he needs to make the hard decisions that, say, someone like David Zaslav would be capable of doing. David Zaslav could be put in this position with Bob Iger and correct the company. I don't think Bob Iger has the skills necessary or the fortitude necessary to be unlikable enough to fix the Walt Disney Company.
It's hard to do that when you're trying to project your legacy far out into the future as being the benevolent, charismatic leader who brought the Walt Disney Company to new heights while it crumbles before you. Hard to do.
I need to say this quickly. We're not going to go deep into it, but a lot of this content that is being cut, for those of you who are looking for signaling that the Disney Company is getting away from woke content, you could read that from this list of content that's on there. Pick of the Litter is a show that has a transgender dog trainer. Marvel's Hero Project is a show that talks about a transgender boy. There's a lot of things on this list that focus very heavily on LGBT themes.
I agree. And by the way, we're not here to make any kind of statement, moral or otherwise, about that. We're simply presenting you with what's happening. And
Right.
you can like that if you so choose about the Walt Disney Company, that they're cutting that kind of content in this wave of content cutting, or you can dislike it. That's up to you. We just want to present you with the truth, and that is the truth of what's happening. Many places are not covering this. Many of the places out there will not tell you this, but it's our job to do so. Jonas, where can people find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there?
Well, you can find me here on this channel at 5 o'clock on Thursdays for the Pro Show, or you can find me on That Park Place, where I am a writer and investigative journalist. You can find me on Twitter at Jonas J. Campbell. I love it when people tweet at me on Twitter. And of course, I have my own channel where I do investigations into woke content, as unprofitable as woke content might be.
Absolutely. Well, folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about the notification bell. We have attempted to endeavor to bring new information to the world sphere, to bring it out, and now it's your turn. Please share your thoughts on what we've been talking about, what we've been discussing. Tell us what you think about Victoria Alonso, Kathleen Kennedy. Was this cutting of content aimed at them? Is Disney holding her memoir hostage? We're interested in what you think. Remember that the human mind is the most powerful thing we know of in the entire universe. A star may be so many times bigger than even the planet Earth, yet a star has never had a thought like you. Share them with us, please. The Pro Show, Thursdays, 5 to 7 Eastern Time in the evenings. Every single Thursday, we do this stuff live. It's a lot of fun. And folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Make sure to catch The Pro Show, Thursdays, 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.